Welcome, ladies and gents, and well, what a British Grand Prix we got in the end. I mean, I was megally frustrated with much of this race. Let's talk about it. And well, we got the start of the race. It was, well, damp conditions at best. And for some reason, we got a safety car formation lap. And that was going to be sort of what was the prelude of many safety cars, virtual safety cars. Some very questionable. I mean, the sun was nearly out and dry when we got the safety car formation lap, and they really were erring on the side of caution. Probably because what happened in the F3. I mean, we've seen some aquaplaning, and they had to red flag that one. But I mean, there were completely different conditions by the time it was race start time for the Formula One guys. And then we got Liam Lawson off at the start. He was hit by Nick Ocon. I mean, it was so dry that we saw Russell, Leclerc, Hadjar, Bortoleto, Behrman and Colapinto all pit under the formation lap for slick tyres. Ultimately, all of them decisions were wrong. It turned out to be horrible races for pretty much all of them in the end. And that wasn't the worst decision for much of them either, which is the strangest thing. We got Lawson off. He was hit by Ocon early doors. We then got lap 4 Bortoleto off. That was another safety car, spun off. He carried on, and then with big wing damage had to stop. It was lap 7 when the first safety car ended, and I think by lap 8 or 9 we had 12 or 11 was it? We had another one. We just seen all sorts going on. It was very, very tricky. Max Verstappen probably got the worst of the conditions that he probably wanted. Had it stayed or just continued to dry, rather than the sort of second splash of wet weather that we got, he would have been looking like absolutely one of the men to beat, because he was flying once the drier stuff started to come up. He would have been able to get off his inters, which he absolutely tore through. The McLarens looked really, really strong in the damp conditions. They were by far the absolute fastest cars. Oscar did a brilliant job, got past Max Verstappen. Lando Norris did the same, and then when their first pits came around, it was a slow stop for Norris, which meant that it was Verstappen behind his teammate, and then obviously we got that safety car incident, which I feel so sorry for Oscar Piastri. I think that 10-second penalty was so harsh. I mean, when you look at the replays again, Verstappen didn't really brake. He just sort of hovered past Piastri, and he had enough time to see Piastri was slowing and hit the brakes, but almost chose not to. Overtook under the safety car, and Piastri got the penalty. I mean, the late call for the safety car to come in, lights went off, and Oscar did what most drivers do: slow, hold the pack up, and then give himself that run, because that was where you were gonna drop the guy behind you and make that run. We've seen numerous videos. You don't do that out of the last corner here at Silverstone, because you can easily get a swapper on and you'll lose your position. So Oscar did what he had to do, and did a really good safety car restart actually from that point. Max Verstappen got caught out. Was it a result of that sort of spin, initial sort of confusion with Verstappen and the Verstappen spin that sort of then pushed the stewards into making the decision of thinking, it was dangerous? I mean, it was, I completely agree with Oscar Piastri on that one. That completely changed the race. That 10-second penalty was harsh at best. I mean, 10 seconds, Max Verstappen got that for ramming into George Russell, and this was not a similar incident or as close to that by any means at all. So for me, more consistency is needed on that front. And to be honest, Oscar should have and was so close to winning this race. He had it absolutely in the bag. He drove brilliantly well. But that 10-second penalty cost him. I mean, he nearly overcame that after the finals pit stops, because he pitted first. He came out and he had the warmer tyres, and he got to within 4 seconds of Norris. And then he got that mistake, which spun him out. But for that, I think he would have been right within the DRS of Norris, because he looked like he was really on it. Norris had to get his tyres up to temperature. But yeah, Norris then controlled it brilliantly well from there, and managed that gap back up to about 6.5 seconds. And Norris won out, and that was sort of the battle at the front. But in behind, it was absolutely anybody's game. I mean, Lance Stroll looked like he was on for a podium. Nico Hülkenberg finally gets his first podium, which is the biggest story of the day for me, which was he just drove brilliantly well. But him and Lance Stroll, the Aston Martin and the Sauber, both got the calls absolutely bang on in terms of strategy at the early start. Both went on, Hülkenberg pitted earlier for the Inters, was on fresh as Inters, as did Stroll. Both of them timed it really well, and then got the calls right to go on to the slicks. Again, both Stroll and Sauber did that really well, but I don't know what happened with Lance Stroll. I know he was on the softs at the end, and did he just chew into them too much, and then he was a little bit of a sitting duck. I mean, Hülkenberg eventually got past, and it looked like for all the world Lewis Hamilton managed to, after a okay-ish start. I mean, he was back in 8th at one point, looked nowhere when the water was coming down. All looked like the man definitely on for that third place, because he only had Hülkenberg, or Gasly, Hülkenberg and Stroll up ahead of him, and you thought, oh, he's going to make easy work of them in that Ferrari, especially when the conditions dried. But Hülkenberg drove absolutely brilliantly well. Hamilton got to within the DRS zone on the Inters before that final stop, and you just thought it's just a matter of time. And another Lewis Hamilton podium at Silverstone since 2014 looked absolutely on the cards. But Hülkenberg got past Gasly at the right time, and then when the tyre changes came on, he just didn't put a foot wrong, and Lewis Hamilton did. Hamilton came out of the pits, got a bit squirty, ran off wide, and then when he was again closing, got to within about 3 seconds of Hülkenberg, where he thought, oh, now, the pressure was going to be really on, made another mistake, and that sort of couple of mistakes really let Nico Hülkenberg off the hook, and he's secured a much deserved, everybody delighted for this guy, driver of the day without an absolute doubt, third place. Absolutely brilliant from him. Lewis Hamilton probably will be disappointed not to get his first podium in a Ferrari at Silverstone, because it looked like it was his for the taking. Max Verstappen recovered after his spin that dropped him down on the safety car restart back to from 10th back to 5th, which was good, but for that, I mean, he was flying at the end. So I mean, it looked like he could have been on that podium, or would have been on that podium at worst, if not splitting one of the McLarens, because he was so fast, especially with Piastri's penalty. He might have nicked a second spot, so he'll be a little bit gutted on that point. And then there'll be a few of them. Lance Stroll looked like he was on for a really good P5, slipped back to P7 in the end. Pierre Gasly defended like an absolute lion. Great race from him, and it went all wrong for Charles Leclerc, like I've said at the start. So many stories within this race, and I'll get to them when I do the drivers' ratings and go through each and every one of the drivers, so watch out for that. But let's get to the 3 good and the 3 bad for this race weekend, and I start with the first of the 3 good. Nico Hülkenberg's P3E was absolutely mega. P19 to P3, absolutely brilliant. Like I've said before, he was bang on everything, didn't put a foot wrong. No mistakes. Brilliant calls from the strategy teams on the Inters and then the slicks, and it was an absolutely brilliant job from him. Second of the 3 good, Pierre Gasly, P6 for me I thought he was a brilliant, mega job. Defended so well on the back foot pretty much all of the race. Got himself up into 4th, 5th place very early on. Defended really well to Hülkenberg initially, and then from Lewis Hamilton, who was just fighting all the way through, and got a much deserved P6, I thought, because again, didn't really make any mistakes, kept it on the black stuff, and drove his heart out, and a brilliant P6 from him, because that car didn't look like it would be there at the end. Was struggling on his tyres and slow, but a brilliant job from him. Third of the 3 good, I am going to go for Lance Stroll. I was umming and ahhing about who I give this third of the 3 good to, but Lance Stroll just takes it from me. I think I'm still disappointed, because he was P5 had about 6 or 7 seconds to Max Verstappen and looked like he'd hold on comfortably for a P5, and then got passed by Verstappen, and then sadly got passed by Pierre Gasly on the very last lap. So he had an awful lap. He did a 1:33 at the end where everyone else was doing 1:31. So I don't know if there's a couple of mistakes in there and then sort of cooled the tyres and had issues on that front. But still, a P17 to P7 is absolutely tremendous. And yeah, you can be probably happy in the end, I guess, when you look at where he was and where he's come back to. So a really, really good job from him this weekend after he's had a couple of shockers and much needed from him. On to the three bad, and the first of them, I'm going to go for Charles Leclerc because his race just got from bad to worse. The call for the formation lap pits didn't work at all. He was nowhere. And then slipping and sliding mistakes all over the place. An absolute shocker to finish P14. Even at one stage, he passed Lewis Hamilton as Lewis came out of the pits for his slick tyres at the end. And I thought he might just hold on for the Inters because this lap time didn't increase dramatically, only sort of a few laps towards the end. So I think Leclerc, despite all the drama, probably should have held out another lap before he went from his Inters to the mediums. When he came out onto the mediums, he was spinning all over places again. Too many mistakes for me for him, and it topped off a really horrible weekend for him. And it was, a weekend where Ferrari looked really, really good when it came to free practice and qualifying. And they go home with, I think they'll be a tad disappointed, and especially on Charles Leclerc's side of the garage. Second of the three bad, I'm going for Yuki Tsunoda because he's had a misery out there. Last place, and he was 40 seconds down at the end. He's a race where, despite poor qualifying, if you just kept it on the track and without mistakes, you could have really been up there for some good points. Look at what Nico Hülkenberg done. Look at what Lance Stroll done, and this was an opportunity for Yuki Tsunoda, and he's not done it. I think, is he done anything more or better than we would have seen from Liam Lawson? It is really debatable at this stage because so far we've not seen the Yuki that we all wished and hoped for stand up in that Red Bull, and this was another opportunity, and it's gone wide for him. Really, really disappointed from him. And third of the three bad, I'm going for Ocon, a P13 in the end. He was running up in P7 at one point, so after a poor qualifying session, looked like he got himself up into a good position. And then he went and took out both the Haas, his teammate, which ultimately cost Berman, I think, probably a P10 because he was right all over the back of Russell, and but for that incident with his teammate, it looked like he would have got that position, but didn't in the end. And it was just a horrible weekend from Ocon. That's the last thing you probably want, is to take out your teammate when you've had a shocker already. And it looked like it was not really. I think he just got caught out a little bit with the Williams. Went onto the wet stuff, and then it was always going to be. He should have really backed out of that early doors, especially when he was coming up against his teammate as well. And that rounded off just an ultimate disappointing weekend for the Haas, where it looked like it would be good for them. And let's get back to the race winner, Lando Norris, with it was like the sea parted for him, didn't it, when Max Verstappen had that spin on the safety car restart and Piastri got that 10-second penalty. It was, the win was in his bag. He just had to keep it sensible. He absolutely did that. And he got a comfortable, if you get a comfortable home race win in the end. There was a little bit of scare probably when he came out and his tyres weren't warm, and Oscar was flying, but he still had a 4-second gap at that stage, and I think once he got his tyres up to temperature, he would have probably had enough to hold on to that. And it's worked out massively well in his championship. He's now just 8 points behind Oscar Piastri. We've got into this 3-week break before Spa, which is the end of the month. and he's put himself in a really, really good position because we've got Spa and then it's a summer break. So yeah, really, really good job from Lando Norris, and I'll be hoping to eat into that and get that point in the championship down to just one. Oscar, Elfie, really hard done by, because it looked like it was his race win and he would have got that buffer back, but an absolute crucial one for Lando Norris. And this title challenge and battle up at the front with the two McLarens is moving left and right in favour of one or the other, and it's so hard to call. And for us neutral fans, if you're not a supporter of Lando Norris or Oscar Piastri in either front, you're going to be set for what should be an absolutely epic title challenge between two teammates, and that's all we can ask for when you've got two McLarens dominating up at the front. And it was close actually, because either one of them could have won it, despite the 10-second penalty for Oscar at one point, but a mistake for Oscar sort of let Piastri off the hook. And we've got to finish with the story of the day. Nico Hülkenberg, much deserved. Who would have thought he'd left Sauber and come to Silverstone and get a podium? I mean, where they were last season, everyone was sort of, even I was sort of thinking he'd probably really is questioning this decision of, are Sauber going to be going places? Look where they are. They were miles back at the end of last season. This season, they didn't start very well at all. And then they've just really have, Mattia Binotto and Jonathan Wheatley really have turned things around there. Their upgrade's been absolutely brilliant. And for him to hold off on pure pace, a little bit of luck possibly, but just absolutely the right calls. They made the right decisions, and everybody else had the same opportunities that they did in this race. It wasn't like ill-timed safety cars for some or others sort of really cost them. It's just that they were on the right tyres at the right time at certain points in the Grand Prix, and it really did work out for them. Who'd have thought that he'd get his first podium in a Sauber this season? It was an absolutely brilliant result from him. Drove fantastically well. He had Lewis Hamilton closing him down in the end. And it had all the pressure in the world that Ferrari had got within that DRS at the end. He looked like he might have been a sitting duck. And he held Lewis off on the inters when he did get in that DRS brilliantly well, and then was really critical outlaps and just kept the car on the black stuff and drove and didn't put a foot wrong when he could easily have done so. It was an absolutely brilliant job from him. Well deserved. Finally a podium in his career. Much deserved. And we've got, go off to Spa next, which is another brilliant Grand Prix. I love that circuit. But Silverstone absolutely delivered again. What a race we got. And I cannot wait for next time out in Spa. It just cannot come soon enough. A little bit of a break now though. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment. As always, see you on the next one. Watch out for the driver ratings coming shortly. And then the Spa preview with some other features as well. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one.